gonna be great. This is gonna be great. Red, aim the hat. Aim. Do you go over there? Try to throw a hat. See if it lands on my head. Immediately.
Okay, I tried.
This is not gonna happen, is it?
I tried.
Well, back to being professional. We reviewed. This is our review of Wonderstruck.
Yes, we saw this film at 6 p.m.
Yeah, well, about 3 hours. Well, this is about 3 hours after screening starts, I'd say.
I had to go and get a Starbucks afterwards.
We got some sushi.
We got some sushi, so it's quite enjoyable.
So it's our first one at the Embankment Cinema. It was your very first time at the Embankment Cinema. It's where I went to see Your Name last year.
Yep, I've never been there before. In fact, I haven't really been to many places in London. But for my first view of Embankment in general, as well as the theatre.
I should say we should be telling the cinemas we went to see this one. So last night we went at Brigsby Bay. We went to see the View Cinema in Leicester Square. This was there. Tomorrow we got our films at, and I don't think we really need to mention Blade Runner, but we did see it at the Odeon in Covent Garden.
Yeah.
Which I actually really like because it has some very creative ways to say what films on each screen.
Yeah, they had like chalkboards above the actual doors to the cinema screens. Is the microphone on?
Yeah, I was just checking I hadn't accidentally switched it to the one which turns off the audio and we have another Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side Dimensions again.
That was not a good sign. But yeah, the chalkboards above the cinema doors basically were all personalised and had like sort of. There was one that had like the screen for It and had like a little red balloon and the SS Georgie of it.
God, yeah. You really like it.
I really liked it. I thought it was very good. But yeah.
With Wonderstruck, it's directed by Todd Haynes, who he directed Carol was the last film I saw that he directed. He's directed a few films. I've always had a bit of a mixed thoughts on his filmmaking. He's made some films I've actually kind of enjoyed, and he's made a few films that I've just thought quite. This one it's based on a novel. We actually saw he's written the screenplay as well. We actually met him before and after.
Yeah, so Todd, what was the second name?
Todd Haynes.
Todd Haynes was there as the director. And then there were three producers were there.
The book's author,
the author,
who also wrote the screenplay.
Yeah, and then two of the child actors who starred in the film, including one of them, Ben. Sadly, Julianne Moore was not there, much to my upset. You
just wanted to give her shit for Kingsman too.
No, I didn't actually. I like Julianne Moore as an actor. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, about Wonderstruck.
I'm amazed it took her that long to get. It took till Still Alice for her to get an Oscar. Well, speaking of Oscars, one of the reasons I really wanted to see this one was because, and I think this was one that I picked, was because everyone was saying this is going to definitely be a Best Picture nominee.
Sorry.
I like to get a bit of a heads up on some of those ones because I always think the Academy gets it wrong on the best films of the year. I mean, some of the times they're getting some really good ones. I mean, I think the best year of nominees I saw was 2015 or no, it was 2016. Because the 8 nominees were all films that I thought were at least pretty good on some level. There wasn't really a bad one in the bunch, or one that I thought you're just being pretentious if you think this film's one of the best films of the year.
Yeah. But one of the phrases he used to describe Wonderstruck was Oscar bait.
Yeah, it's Oscar. You got to worry about the Oscar bait films. There are a lot of films where you are just literally in for an Oscar, especially some of them. You can tell they're aiming for the acting categories in particular, like that film Trumbo with Bryan Cranston. It's very clear Bryan Cranston's aiming for a Best Actor nomination, which he got. Yeah. Incidentally, or in £7, but then some of them can be disastrous, like Will Smith's £7,
which I loved.
I have no idea why you like that film. It's honestly, it's like the whole routine was where I realized, oh my god, he gave her his heart. Oh,
it's a heart-wrenching story, and in that his heart was wrenched from his body.
Also, if he killed himself with a jellyfish, surely that makes his heart ineffective.
Semantics. I don't know. He froze himself. He put himself in an ice bath. I'm sure that does something to preserve it. I don't know.
I'm fairly certain that's what killed Steve Irwin. Or no, he was killed.
No, that wasn't what killed Steve Irwin.
It was a stingray. But I think it's the same sort of difference. If you're killed by that method, it kind of affects the organs. The harvest. But we're moving on. We're getting off.
We're getting off subject. Anyway, enough about Steve Irwin. more on to Deaf Children. So Wonderstruck.
It's basically we're brief plot synopsis because of course we agree with World Film Festival screens. We're not going to go into spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
So
it's. Do you want me to describe it?
Yeah, you go ahead. So I'm going to get a few of these in.
It's a split narrative. So it's basically a story told over 2 different time periods. About first of all, is a young girl in the 1920s, and you don't realise. Am I okay to say that? Is that
yeah. I think we go a little bit into it.
So you don't realise really at first, but the girl is born deaf and sort of has trouble interpreting what other people. She's not able to lip read. She doesn't really know what people are saying to her. She hasn't yet learned sign language, and her father and mother are sort of split, and she really feels alienated by the world around her.
I think we should stop with that for that one. Whereas at the same time, you've got a parallel story about a boy who's just become deaf.
Yeah.
After being struck by lightning. It makes sense in context of the film.
Yeah.
His mum's been killed in a car accident, and he's sort of fled to New York after becoming deaf to find his father, and hijinks ensue.
Yeah, so the kind of the actual film itself bounces between the 2 time periods, and it's not really until the end which the 2 points unify, and we sort of see the
overall
the connection, the bigger picture around it.
So, what do you think of the film?
I enjoyed it. There were parts I think it was slow to begin with. It didn't really capture my attention. It was quite all over the place at parts, but the parts that it did well, that sort of, once everything made a bit of more sense and the themes were unified, I did think it sort of started to come into its own paces and its own stride. Did enjoy it after those points, but until then I was a little bit iffy. Yeah.
This is a film, my opinion, this is a film, if it wasn't for that ending, I would forget this film so fast.
Yeah.
But it's just, everything about it is, there's a lot of decent stuff, and there's decent ideas, there's decent work put into play. There's clearly a real interesting idea that's being put into play here. The problem is, it's not executed brilliantly, and I found a lot of the early portions quite dull, and I really wasn't getting much enjoyment. In fact, I actually was enjoying much more of the boy in the 70s than the girl in the 20s.
Yeah, it's sort of lacked direction, and unfortunately, I think it's suffered from one of the issues that sort of plagues child actors in that they are typically not brilliant. Particularly not just looks like I'm hating on child actors, but yeah, I don't think the performances were particularly up to par as to where they should have been.
I actually think it's better than a lot of child actors I've seen in recent memory. Honestly, there's some bad. I've seen some. I think they gave better performances than, say, the child actors in the first Harry Potter film. Because at least in that one you can really tell they're kind of learning their shots. These ones I can sort of tell they're at least got some experience down.
No, I would disagree with that. I don't think. Well, I think that's a difficult comparison to make, first of all. But I don't know. I didn't feel as though it was a kind of genuine performance on this part. However, I do think that the way that the 2 stories were told was quite interesting. The sort of older 1920s era, after the Q&A with the director, we sort of had it confirmed that they were aiming for a difference in storytelling method.
Both are kind of trying to be homages to silent film.
Yeah, well, no, the 20s is, but the 70s.
The 70s still has a bit of an element of that, because of course you've got to remember there's a large portion of the 70s part that have absolutely no dialogue.
Yeah, no.
Incidentally, that's the worst part of that story. That's the worst part of that film. The second, when there's absolutely no dialogue whatsoever, that's when it's just awful.
Wait, do you mean for the 20s or for the 70s?
Well, at that point where they both had no dialogue at all.
Well, I personally didn't really see much of the the lack of dialogue in the 70s. There was a lot more. They aimed for a lot more dialogue.
Yeah, but up until he meets that point when he meets the other child actor who's really big in it.
Yeah.
I'm careful not to give away too much here. He really doesn't. He doesn't talk all that much. But again, he doesn't have any reason to because he's not meeting anyone.
No.
But at the same time, it just sort of bored me more. But the thing about it is, I've never really been a fan of this whole homages to early cinema and silent cinema. For the main reason being that, well, there's only one film I think that's really got it right, and that was Martin Scorsese's Hugo. I think that one got it right the most.
Todd actually, what was the second now?
No, it's the guy who wrote the novel took screenplay writing lessons from the guy who wrote the screenplay for Hugo.
That's right,
so there is a connection between this. But Hugo, I think, did that job a lot better. That being said, for a first screenplay, it's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
and from what we could told us, it's if you're a fan of the novel, it's very loyal to the novel.
Yeah, I mean, again, because the screenplay was done by the author.
Neither of us have actually read the novel, though, we should say.
Yeah, probably should at some point.
This was part of the journey aspect of films. There's a lot of journey films at this point.
So like the Brigsby Bear was part of the
Laugh, and this is part of Journey. We're doing one film from Family.
Oh really? Which one's that?
Lou Over the Wall.
Okay.
Which I'm very surprised that's considered a family film, because I don't think there's many anime that are aimed at families per se.
Yeah.
Outside of Ghibli.
Yeah. Okay.
But even then, I think Ghibli goes a lot darker than.
What about that? What is it, like My Family or something? I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
No, it's the thing I'm trying to. We're still trying to upload Blade Runner because it's taking ages on our thing, and it's if I don't leave that screen on, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be up half the bloody night. In fact, I'm not even. By the time you watch this one, it will have been It'll be at least the day after, around midday after the day we see it, because I'm not even gonna start uploading this till tomorrow morning.
With regard to the film, so
anyone who wants me to stay up into the middle of the night doing this, I got 2 words, and the second one is that.
First one, a good duck. With regard to the films, I think it tried to touch on quite a few different themes, like themes of miscommunication, childhood deafness, the idea of growing up in a world which you're not accustomed to, and a great deal of change. And bearing in mind the 2 narratives are centred around kids, prepubescent kids, it's all about kind of getting to grips with the world around you through a medium that you're not quite sure of. However, there were several themes that they tried to touch on in the film. They may have, the author mentioned at the Q&A afterwards that he did intend some of these themes, but within the realms of the actual movie, they weren't really touched upon or elaborated on to a good degree. And one of them was the inclusion of the song Space Oddity by David Bowie, and then the inclusion of Space Odyssey, but it was like a sort of disco mix, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you later?
He kind of explained the film inspiration, but it didn't really have much to do with anything except to give us a 70s setting.
Yeah, and there was sort of there was a quote thrown around multiple times at the beginning. It was like
they dropped that entirely. It's the Oscar Wilde quote. They drop it entirely on this.
Is it like people?
Everyone's in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars.
That's right. Yeah, they.
Because I've heard Stephen Fry say that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, anything that man says is just he makes anything sound eloquent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what made QI so watchable.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they attempt to use that and sort of throw in themes of space and exploration. But they just don't really reach its full potential.
You know when they played Fox on the Run by Sweet? Did you get Guardians of the Galaxy flashbacks?
Yeah, that's a little bit, yeah. But yeah.
I know your name!
Anything notable you have to say about the film?
I felt the film's just been... how do I put this? I feel like the ending redeemed it.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't for the ending, and in fact I do actually think that Julianne Moore was to be commended for her performance in this film.
Well, again, she's doing dual roles in this one, but we won't say what because it's a giveaway.
Yeah.
I'll also say I felt the sign language was done very well.
Yeah,
by some of the actors. Some of the actors had to learn sign language, and they did a very good job of it.
I mean, so on some levels they actually delivered quite well. The idea of being unable to interact in the world around you, or sort of being null to it, or newly sort of having this lack of understanding about the environment around you is actually quite interesting, and that was achieved quite well. And again, Julianne Moore's performance was pretty much spot on throughout. In that it's also a unique role that you probably wouldn't have expected of her. But yeah, so
I think that's kind of our fault. We thought it was okay.
Yeah. The thing is, it did well.
Can I say the music score is fantastic for this film?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think... I personally didn't really feel that the 20s section of the narrative really lived up to... I don't think the soundtrack really lived up to what it could have been, but it was okay. It did the job. It did the job.
Yeah, so are we saying this is a cinema, buy on DVD, rent it, or just avoid altogether?
I mean, I'd say it's probably going to come up in quite a few people's lists when it's actually released. I think it's going to get a good degree of coverage, but I don't think...
Do you think this is one people should rush out to go and see when it gets a massive cinema release?
Yes, because I think it's going to be talked about, but I don't think there's going to be much substance to it.
But in terms of you...
okay, I'd recommend seeing it probably don't rush to the cinema to see it, but see it, probably.
Yeah, we'll probably get released around awards season because I reckon this one will get a few Oscar nominations. I would say unless you want to be really up to date with the Best Picture nominees before you see the Oscars, this is a rent it or see it as an in-flight film on a trip when you're flying out.
Oh, that's cold, Carl. That's cold.
But I don't feel much like I really want to see this again.
I mean, then again, I feel like we're coming from perspectives of people who haven't actually read the book. So if you have read the book,
but usually when a book's author does the screenplay, it's normally very loyal, and he even said himself it was very loyal to his book.
But loyalty doesn't necessarily equate to quality. I mean, to the people who have read the book, I think it probably has a lot of a deeper meaning, and we're probably only seeing it on a surface level. But
at that stage, it shouldn't be in that stage. If that is the case, then if it doesn't work, if you've not read the book, then you've made a film that's alienated to people that's not read the book, and I don't feel a good adaptation does that.
No, I'd agree with that.
Which, for my money, but then again, my belief is not that book loyalty is necessary for a good adaptation. I think there's certain things in The Hobbit which they changed, which I actually felt improved more than it detracted. I mean, there's way more detractions in that film than in the change from the book to the film. Yeah. But at the same time, I like the fact they tried to give Bard more of a backstory.
Yeah.
For example, but I can't see myself really recommending it unless you. I'd only say rush out and go see it in the cinema if you've read the book, because you'll probably be very happy with it, especially if you're one of those people who think it has to be 100% loyal to the book, otherwise I'm not happy with the film. Yeah.
And certainly the film is unique. It does do some things quite well, and it is in a lot of ways homage to previous cinematographic.
But I've always felt
cinema styles, basically.
But the thing is, though, I've never been a fan. One of the things I've never been a fan of this whole science cinema homage, which films like The Artist kind of made famous, is that things move on. Things move on, and I feel like it's always like I know it's not equivalent, but it's anytime. But if I'm going to go talk about wrestling, for example, anytime there's Ryan Zane touched briefly upon this in Wrestling with Regret, but anytime a new wrestling organisation comes along and say they want to get it back to the old ways of doing things, that company is always under within the first year.
But I would also say that there's.
And I think it's the same with film. I think any industry, you need to move with the times or get left behind.
But it's still fine to look back and take... Because, I mean, say for example, if you're doing a film without dialogue, that's an additional limitation that you can actually...
do you know what it is? I think I kind of find it a bit pretentious.
I mean, that's fair.
I find it a bit pretentious to always say, silent cinema is amazing, and then Talkies came and ruined everything, and this was all about pure expression.
Well, but I mean, I'd say that they're not actually trying to criticise newer cinema.
No, I don't think. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying a lot of people who I don't like who say shit like that, or who use films like this to sort of like, I love silent cinema. When was the last time you properly watched silent cinema? And don't tell me I'm an idiot because I think Guardians of the Galaxy is just as legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's not so much hating on the genre or the idea of throwbacks, but that's more the individual.
It's more the individuals.
Yeah.
I don't like pretentious cinema.
Yeah.
I really don't like pretentious cinema because I think good art is accessible.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And can be delivered to a wide. It doesn't mean it has to be dumb or without being dumb and to a point. It's just accessible. People can enjoy it. They can get some deeper meaning if they want, or they can just sit back and have a bit of fun. I think that's the best kind of art.
Would you say that this film is accessible?
I'd say it's a lot more accessible than many films that are going to play at this festival. I certainly think, considering I've looked at a lot of plot synopsis, things like that. I'll just double check something in case you want to see this one, because this was the very first screening.
Yeah. So you mean for subsequent screenings for this film?
First screening of the festival for this screen. I know there's at least one more.
It's the UK so the one that we went to was the UK premiere, I think. But it's previously premiered in like New York, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't. Where is it?
It's okay. We can just put it up on the doobly-doo down below.
No, I'm gonna find it.
Okay, he's gonna find it first. Don't worry. 21.
Right,
Page 21.
Right
on the right page now.
By the way, I broke it. That's why there's no front or back cover. We've seen that one in a couple of days. There we go. Oh yeah, it's also part of the stand gala. There's one playing on Friday the 6th at the Embankment Gardens.
So tomorrow at 11 AM in Embankment.
Well, I should say today because this vlog's going out tomorrow. Now I'm not staying up after night to.
So it's Friday the 6th at 11 AM.
And if you want, it's playing on Sunday the 8th in Hackney.
12:30.
Which I think it's one's worth watching.
Yeah.
I think it's worth watching at least once, but the point I'm making is we're not rushing back to see it again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm more than happy to wait until release and then probably see it after it's actually got an official release in cinemas. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the review, and tune in next time for, what are we seeing tomorrow?
Bamson Pirates Soul Inferno.
Yeah.
Which is our very first documentary review.
And I believe one of the first documentaries that's at London Film Festival, is that correct?
Yeah, there's a few documentaries, but this is one of the first ones going to be shown. We're seeing it in a hell of a place, so I'll tell you all about it tomorrow.
Cool.
Alright, see you then.
Thanks very much.